The screams started before the humans even entered. Not from fear of them, but from fear of what was already inside the chamber. At the center of the Galactic Council Hall, the largest diplomatic room in known space, a 7-meter-tall warlord from the Dravic Dominion had just snapped the neck of a delegate in front of everyone. No one moved. No one dared. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species sat frozen in silence as the dead body hit the polished floor. The Dravic warlord looked around the chamber, his armored chest rising like a beast ready for more blood. Then he growled, "Let this be a reminder of who rules this council." No guards intervened. No laws were enforced. Because in the Galactic Council, power decided justice. And the Dravic were the strongest species anyone had ever seen. Until the doors opened, and humanity walked in. The chamber was ancient, larger than cities, carved into the hollow center of a moon orbiting the capital world of the Galactic Concord. Floating platforms carried delegates in circles around the massive central arena where disputes, laws, and alliances were decided. Or rather, controlled. For centuries, the council had claimed to represent peace. In truth, it was ruled by fear. The Dravic Dominion dominated military force. The Velnari controlled trade routes. The psychic Threx manipulated diplomacy from shadows. Smaller species survived by obedience. When Earth received its first invitation to the Council, many celebrated. Humanity had finally reached the stars. They had colonized 12 worlds in under 60 years. Their technology advanced rapidly. Their diplomats were ambitious. But older species mocked them. Too young. Too divided. Too emotional. Another minor race seeking relevance. So when the human delegation arrived, few paid attention. 3 diplomats entered the chamber. No armor. No visible weapons. No military escort. At their center walked Ambassador Elena Voss. Dark uniform. Calm expression. Steady eyes. She stepped into the chamber just as the dead delegate's body was dragged away. Her gaze flicked toward the blood on the floor, then toward the towering Dravic warlord. She frowned. "Are we interrupting something?" A ripple of laughter moved through the chamber. The Dravic warlord turned slowly. His voice thundered. "You stand before Commander Braca of the Dravic Dominion." Elena looked him up and down. "Congratulations." The laughter stopped. Braca's eyes narrowed. "You will show respect, human." Elena's expression remained neutral. "Respect is earned." The chamber erupted into whispers. No one spoke to Dravic that way. Braca stepped forward, towering over her. "I crushed the last ambassador who insulted me." Elena glanced at the bloodstain. "Yes, I noticed your negotiating style." Several delegates gasped. Even the Velnari traders looked horrified. This woman was either unbelievably brave or catastrophically stupid. Braca bared his teeth. "You think your species matters because you reached the stars?" Elena folded her hands behind her back. "No." She met his gaze directly. "I think manners matter because we reached the stars." For a moment, no one breathed. Then Braca roared and swung his massive fist at her head. The chamber exploded in chaos. Delegates screamed. Guards moved too late. Everyone expected to see the human ambassador die. Instead, Elena caught his fist. One hand. The entire chamber froze. Braca's momentum stopped dead. His eyes widened. The floor cracked beneath Elena's boots. But she had not moved an inch. Impossible. Dravic were among the strongest species in the galaxy. No unarmored human should have survived that strike, much less stopped it. Elena slowly looked at the fist in her hand, then at Braca, and sighed. "You really should not have done that." Before anyone understood what was happening, she twisted. A sickening crack echoed through the chamber. Braca screamed. The 7-meter warlord dropped to one knee, his arm broken in 3 places. Shock swept through the room like a wave. Elena stepped back calmly, adjusting her sleeve. "Now," she said, voice cold as steel. "Shall we begin diplomacy again?" No one spoke. No one moved. The most feared warrior in the council knelt before a human. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt fear. High above the chamber, hidden behind mirrored observation glass, the secret rulers of the council watched in stunned silence. The High Tribunal, ancient beings who controlled the council from shadows. One elder whispered, "Impossible." Another stared at the data feed flooding their screens. "Her biology readings make no sense." A third turned slowly. "Find out what humans really are." Because deep in the archives of forgotten history, there was only one record of a species capable of strength like that. A species believed extinct for 10,000 years. And if the records were true, humanity was not new to the galaxy. They were returning. The council chamber remained silent long after Commander Bracker was carried away. No one dared speak first. Hundreds of alien delegates stared at Ambassador Elena Voss as if she had just rewritten the laws of nature. She stood perfectly calm at the center of the chamber. Not breathing hard. Not shaking. Not even looking proud. Just waiting. The council speaker, an ancient insectoid called Varel, finally struck his staff against the floor. "Order shall be restored." His voice trembled. That alone shocked the chamber. Speaker Varel had presided over Galactic Council sessions for over 2 centuries. He had watched wars begin and empires collapse without ever showing emotion. Yet now, he looked afraid. Elena gave a polite nod. "Thank you. We would like to proceed with humanity's petition for full council membership." No one objected. Not openly. Because every delegate present had just witnessed a human physically overpower a Dravik warlord. But fear quickly turned into curiosity. The Velnari trade master leaned forward. "Ambassador, what exactly are humans?" Whispers spread instantly. Everyone wanted the answer. Elena smiled faintly. "A developing species from Sol 3. The Threx representative narrowed his glowing eyes. "That is not what was asked." His psychic aura filled the chamber. He was famous for reading thoughts, extracting truth from diplomats too frightened to resist. He focused his mind on Elena. And froze. The Threx staggered backward. Blood ran from his nose. The entire chamber erupted. The most powerful telepath in the council had just failed to read her mind. Worse. He looked terrified. His voice cracked as he whispered, "There's something in her head." Elena's smile vanished. "Do not do that again." Even the psychic recoiled. Far below the chamber, in the sealed archives beneath the moon, the High Tribunal searched ancient forbidden records. Dust-covered star maps. Pre-council war logs. Species extinction reports older than most civilizations. One elder finally found it. A fragmented file. Designation: Project Primarch. The room went silent as the ancient report opened. Text flickered across the screen. Status: Terminated. Subject race: Human template. Threat level: Omega. Order: Eradicate all surviving specimens. The elders stared in disbelief. One whispered, "No." Another read further. 10,000 years earlier, before the Galactic Council existed, the galaxy had been ruled by an empire now erased from history. The Aetheri Dominion. Masters of genetic warfare. Creators of living weapons. And according to the records, humans had been one of their experiments. Designed for extreme adaptability, high aggression thresholds, enhanced muscular density, resistance to psychic intrusion, accelerated innovation under pressure. A perfect warrior species. But the experiment had gone wrong. The humans rebelled. Within 3 years, they nearly destroyed their creators. The Aetheri spent centuries exterminating them. Or so they believed. One elder looked up in horror. "Oath." Another whispered, "A forgotten colony." The third elder turned pale. They survived. Back in the council chamber, Elena finished presenting humanity's petition. Trade agreements, scientific exchange, defense treaties, all standard. But no one was listening to the words anymore. They were watching her, studying her, wondering if every human was like this. Then Speaker Varel asked the question everyone feared. Ambassador Voss, are all humans as strong as you? Elena paused, then answered honestly. No. The room relaxed slightly. Then she added, some are much stronger. The room went dead silent again. Hours later, a private invitation arrived at the human embassy. The High Tribunal requested immediate audience. Elena accepted. She entered the tribunal's hidden chamber alone. 12 hooded elders sat in a ring above her. Their leader spoke first. Humanity has deceived the council. Elena's face remained unreadable. About what? The elder's voice sharpened. Your origins. Elena said nothing. Another elder activated the ancient file. Project Primarch appeared in holographic form. For the first time, Elena's expression changed. Only slightly, but enough. The elders noticed. So it is true. Silence. Then Elena exhaled slowly. You should not have accessed that archive. The leader leaned forward. Then confirm it. A long pause. Then, she did. Yes. The elders recoiled. Elena's voice became quieter, heavier. Humans were engineered long ago, but not as conquerors. She looked directly at them. As soldiers. One elder whispered. For whom? Elena answered with a single sentence that froze the room. For a war the galaxy forgot. Then alarms exploded across the chamber. Red lights flashed. A panicked voice shouted through comms. Unknown fleet entering orbit. The tribunal rose in alarm. How many ships? The answer came back trembling. Not ships. A pause. Then, war moons. Elena's eyes widened for the first time. She whispered, impossible. The display changed. Above the council world, 3 planet-sized battle stations emerged from hyperspace, each bearing a symbol humanity had not seen in 10,000 years. The crest of the Ethery Dominion, the empire that created humans. The empire believed dead, had returned, and they had come for their lost weapon. The first war moon blocked out the sun. Its shadow swallowed half the council world in darkness. Then the second arrived. Then the third. 3 artificial planets of black metal and crimson fire hung in orbit above the Galactic Council's capital. Each one larger than entire cities, covered in cannons, shipyards, and glowing energy trenches. Panic spread instantly. Emergency sirens screamed across the moon city. Civilian transports launched in chaos. Military fleets rushed from orbital docks. And every scanner confirmed the same impossible truth. Ethery Dominion signatures verified. Inside the High Tribunal chamber, the elders stared in horror. One whispered, they're extinct. Elena Voss looked up at the orbital display, her face pale for the first time since arriving. Apparently not. The tribunal leader turned sharply. You knew they might return. Elena's jaw tightened. We hoped they wouldn't. That answer terrified them more than the war moons. Above orbit, thousands of council warships formed defensive lines. The greatest armada the Galactic Council had assembled in centuries. Dravik battleships, Velnari carriers, Threx psionic cruisers. Hundreds of species united by fear. A transmission came from the central war moon. Ancient, distorted, cold. A tall figure appeared on every screen in the system. Humanoid. Pale silver skin. Black armor edged in red light. Eyes glowing like burning stars. The chamber froze. Even Elena went still. The figure spoke in a language no one recognized. Except her. Her whisper was barely audible. Ethery Prime. Then the alien switched to modern galactic standard. Galactic Council. Your occupation of this sector is irrelevant to us. His gaze hardened. Return our property. Confused silence followed. Then his eyes turned directly toward Elena through the camera. Deliver the human species for reclamation. Every delegate in the chamber turned toward her. The Ethery commander's voice became colder. Or this system dies first. Deep beneath the council city, in a secure war chamber, the High Tribunal, military leaders, and Elena gathered around a tactical table. The tribunal leader slammed his fist down. You brought this upon us. Elena's eyes flashed. No. You dug up secrets you did not understand. The room went silent. A Dravik general snarled. Then explain. Now. Elena took a breath. Then gave the truth. 10,000 years ago, the Aetheri created humanity as engineered shock troops for their interstellar wars. The tactical room dimmed as old battlefield holograms appeared. Images of impossible conflict. Star systems burning. Armadas shattered. Worlds turned to ash. They bred us stronger. Faster. Harder to kill. Resistant to fear. Resistant to psychic control. A Velnari strategist whispered. Why would they build such monsters? Elena's face darkened. Because they were losing. She expanded the map. A second faction appeared. Unknown enemies erased from history. They needed soldiers who could survive where their own species could not. The tribunal leader frowned. Then why did they destroy you? Elena's answer came cold. Because we won the war. Silence. Absolute silence. She continued. When the war ended, they tried to deactivate us. Obedience implants. Genetic shutdowns. Planetary sterilization. Her voice sharpened. Humanity rebelled. A Dravik general whispered. You defeated your creators. Elena looked at him. Nearly exterminated them. Another stunned silence. Then, nearly. Elena nodded slowly. Apparently not thoroughly enough. Orbital alarms erupted again. Aetheri fighters launched from the war moons. Millions of them. They poured into space like black swarms. Council fleets opened fire. The battle began instantly. And it was slaughter. The Council had never faced anything like the Aetheri. Enemy ships moved with impossible precision. Weapons sliced through shields like paper. Entire cruisers exploded in seconds. The Galactic Council's mighty fleet collapsed. One Dravik flagship detonated live on tactical feed. A Velnari carrier split in half. The outer defense ring vanished in under 4 minutes. The tribunal stared in horror. They're annihilating us. Elena's face hardened. Then she reached into her uniform and placed a black metal device onto the table. Every eye locked on it. The tribunal leader frowned. What is that? Elena answered quietly. The reason humanity sent diplomats instead of soldiers. She pressed it. Nothing happened. Then, across the galaxy, something answered. Far beyond council space. Hidden in dark systems beyond mapped territory. Ancient dormant fleets awakened. Thousands of black human warships powered on. Buried shipyards opened. Planetary bunkers split apart. Weapons older than civilizations came online. In Earth orbit, secret defense stations emerged from cloaked positions. On Mars, underground hangars opened. On moons across the solar system, armies marched. And from a hidden fortress beneath the Pacific Ocean, a voice spoke across humanity's military network for the first time in centuries. Code Black confirmed. Humanity at war. Back in the council chamber, the tribunal stared at Elena in disbelief. She met their eyes and said the words that made every alien blood run cold. You feared humans because of one ambassador. She glanced toward the burning skies above. Then back at them. You have not yet seen our military. The first human warship arrived without warning. No hyperspace signature. No portal. No detectable engine trail. It simply appeared in orbit above the Council world. A black spear-shaped vessel larger than any battleship in the Galactic Council fleet. Then another appeared. Then 10. Then hundreds. The stars above the capital vanished behind them. A silent armada of human warships surrounded the dying battlefield, each ship dark as obsidian, edged with silver light, carrying no insignia except a single symbol burned into their hulls. A broken crown over a rising sun. The ancient crest of the Human War Command. Across every council screen, military officers stared in disbelief. One Dravik general whispered, "How many?" The scanners returned a number. Then recalculated. then failed. Because more ships kept arriving. Thousands. Above them all, a massive flagship descended from hyperspace. Longer than entire cities. Its hull looked scarred by ancient wars, layered in armor thicker than fortress walls. Giant weapon arrays rotated across its surface like moving mountains. Its name appeared on every tactical display. HWS Titan of Dawn. The human flagship broadcast one signal. A single voice. Deep. Calm. Absolute. This is Grand Marshal Adrian Kane of the Human War Command. The voice echoed across every fleet in orbit. E3 forces are ordered to surrender immediately. The response from E3 Prime was laughter. You still resist your masters? Kane answered. No. A pause. Then, we buried our masters. And the human fleet opened fire. No one in the council had ever seen warfare like this. Human rail cannons fired beams of molten metal at near-light speed, piercing E3 cruisers clean through. Swarms of drone fighters erupted from hidden bays like steel storms. Massive spinal cannons tore apart enemy destroyers in single shots. The battlefield transformed instantly. Where the council had been losing, humanity advanced. E3 ships that had dominated every alien fleet were suddenly being shredded. A Dravik admiral stared at the tactical feed. Impossible. They are stronger than the E3. Elena Voss stood beside him. Her expression unreadable. We improved. Then the war moon fired. A crimson beam lanced down from orbit. It struck the surface of the council moon and erased an entire city. Millions died in one flash. The chamber went silent. Even Elena flinched. E3 Prime appeared again on every screen. His face twisted in fury. Enough games. Deliver humanity or this world burns. Grand Marshal Kane's voice returned. Calm. Cold. You still think this is about survival? The E3 commander frowned. Kane continued. You came to reclaim slaves. His tone sharpened. You found descendants. Then the flagship Titan of Dawn charged its main weapon. The front of the vessel split open. A sphere of white energy formed at its core. Every scanner in orbit screamed warnings. Power readings exceeded known reactor limits. The council's scientists shouted in panic. That output could crack a moon. Kane gave the order. Fire. The beam hit the nearest war moon. And the impossible happened. The planet-sized battle station split in half. Then exploded. The shockwave lit the sky like a second sun. Everyone on the council world watched in stunned silence as flaming debris rained through orbit. One war moon. Gone. In one shot. E3 Prime's face vanished from the screens. For the first time, the ancient empire knew fear. Their fleet broke formation. Some ships tried to retreat. Humanity did not let them. The war became pursuit. Systematic. Merciless. Every fleeing E3 vessel was hunted down and destroyed. The second war moon attempted hyperspace jump. Human interceptors disabled it before charge completion. The third fired desperately into civilian zones. Human destroyers sacrificed themselves to block the blast. Within 40 minutes, the battle was over. 3 war moons destroyed. Enemy fleet annihilated. The Galactic Council's capital saved. As celebrations began across the moon, Elena stood alone at the observation deck, watching debris burn in orbit. Grand Marshal Kane entered behind her, massive in black uniform, scarred from old wars. He spoke quietly. You did well. Elena did not turn. They know now. Kane stood beside her. Yes. She looked at the stars. They'll fear us. Kane's answer came without hesitation. Good. Then every alarm in the flagship activated. Instantly, bridge officers shouted through comms. Marshal, long-range anomaly detected. Kane's expression changed. He rushed to tactical command. The main display lit up, and everyone froze. At the edge of the system, space was tearing open. Not hyperspace. Not warp. Something else. A vast black fracture split reality itself. Then, something emerged. Not E3. Not alien. Not recognizable. A shape too large to classify. Covered in moving darkness. A voice whispered through every sensor array. Though no transmission was detected. We have found you again. Elena's blood turned cold. Kane stared at the thing in horror. Then whispered the words no one in the room understood. The Voidborn. And for the first time since arriving, the Grand Marshal looked afraid. No one on the bridge moved. No one even breathed. The thing emerging from the fracture in space did not resemble a ship. It looked like a wound in reality given shape. Black tendrils of shifting matter coiled around a massive skeletal frame larger than the destroyed war moons. Its surface moved like liquid shadow, forming and reforming across impossible angles. Where engines should have been, there was only darkness. Where windows should have been, there were eyes. Thousands of faint white lights blinking across its hull like stars trapped inside a corpse. The entire fleet's sensors screamed. Then died. Every display went black for 3 full seconds. When systems returned, half the stars in the sector were gone. Not destroyed. Blocked. Because more fractures were opening. Dozens. Then hundreds. Something was arriving. Grand Marshal Kane's voice cut through the terror. All human fleets to combat readiness. Priority Omega. The bridge snapped into motion. Alien officers in the Council command centers stared in confusion. One Dravik admiral shouted over comms. Marshal, what is that thing? Kane answered without looking away from the tactical display. The reason the Aethery created us. Silence. Then Elena Voss spoke softly. The war before history. Across the Council network, every leader demanded answers. Kane did not have time for secrecy anymore. He opened all channels. Let the entire galaxy hear. Listen carefully. 10,000 years ago, the Aethery were not conquering the galaxy for greed. A second fracture tore open. Another nightmare vessel emerged. They were running. Shock rippled across every command center. Kane continued. The species you see before you is designated Voidborn. They consume advanced civilizations. They follow technology, energy signatures, and concentrated populations across interstellar space. Elena stepped beside him. They are not invaders. Her voice was grim. They are extinction. A council elder whispered. Then why have we never heard of them? Kane answered. Because everyone who meets them dies. The first Voidborn vessel attacked. Without warning, a beam of absolute black erupted from its core. It touched an Aethery wreck drifting nearby. The wreck vanished. Not exploded. Not vaporized. Gone. Matter erased completely. The bridge fell silent in horror. Then the Voidborn fleet surged forward. Human warships engaged immediately. The battle that followed shattered belief itself. Human rail cannons struck the Voidborn, and barely slowed them. Missiles detonated against living darkness, only for the hulls to regenerate. Even the mighty Titan of Dawn fired its spinal cannon, blasting a hole clean through one monstrosity, and watched the wound close within seconds. A human officer shouted, "Conventional weapons ineffective." Kane's face hardened. All ships fall back to formation Aegis. Elena turned sharply. You think that will hold? Kane answered quietly. It has to. On the council world below, citizens watched the sky burn again. Only now the fear was different. This was not war. This was apocalypse. Even the victorious human fleet, the force that had shattered war moons, was being pushed back. A Dravik commander stared in disbelief. They're beating the humans. Another whispered. Then we're all dead. Kane activated secure channel to Earth. A tired voice answered. Earth command online. Kane spoke one sentence. Activate the Arc protocol. The entire bridge went silent. Even Elena turned. Adrian, no. He met her gaze. We don't have a choice. She stepped toward him. That weapon nearly destroyed the solar colonies during testing. And if we don't use it, Kane snapped, there won't be a galaxy left to save. He turned back to command. Authorized planetary relay network. Full synchronization. The order spread instantly. Across human space. Ancient defense arrays hidden in dead systems powered on. Massive ring structures awakened around forgotten stars. Weapons buried for millennia came online. The Council sensors detected them one by one. Then counted over 3,000. A Velnari scientist whispered, "Those aren't stations." Another finished the sentence in terror. "They're a weapon grid." The Voidborn kept advancing. The human fleet was collapsing under the pressure. Destroyers vanished in black fire. Cruisers were torn apart. Entire formations disappeared into spatial fractures. Kane clenched his fists. "Come on." Then Earth Command returned. Arc Protocol online. Every star map in the galaxy lit up. Lines of energy connected system to system. A web spanning thousands of light-years. The Voidborn paused. As if recognizing what humanity had built. Kane gave the final order. His voice was iron. "Fire the Arc." Across the galaxy, 3,000 stellar rings unleashed beams into nearby stars. The stars themselves ignited. Energy surged through the network. Gathering. Amplifying. Converging. At the center of the battlefield, a white sphere formed larger than planets. The Voidborn fleet turned toward it. Too late. Kane whispered, "Goodbye." The Arc detonated, and the stars disappeared. For one terrible second, there was no sound, no light, no stars, only white. The Arc's detonation consumed everything at the battlefield center, expanding outward like a newborn sun. Voidborn ships vanished inside it instantly, erased before their shadow hulls could regenerate. The blast rolled through wreckage, shattered moons, and drifting fleets, swallowing metal and fire alike in a storm of pure stellar energy. Then the shockwave hit. Even ships thousands of kilometers away spun violently through space. Windows shattered. Systems overloaded. Entire Council stations lost power as the pulse surged across orbit. When the light finally faded, half the sky was empty. The fractures in reality were gone. The Voidborn fleet had vanished. So had most of the battlefield. The human flagship Titan of Dawn drifted crippled but intact among a graveyard of debris. Cheers erupted across Council channels. Then stopped. Because the casualty reports began. Human destroyers, lost. Council fleets, devastated. Civilian districts below, damaged by orbital fallout. Entire orbital defense stations, gone. Millions had survived. Millions had not. Victory had a price. Inside the shattered command bridge of the Titan of Dawn, Grand Marshal Kane stood in silence. His officers waited for celebration. It never came. Instead he stared at the tactical display and whispered, "How many human ships?" An officer swallowed hard. 42% fleet loss, sir. The bridge fell silent. Nearly half the war fleet, gone. Elena stepped beside him. "We stopped them." Kane's expression remained dark. "No." He pointed at the scanner logs. "We stopped the scouts." The room froze. A young officer looked up. "Scouts?" Kane turned to face the bridge. His voice was heavy. That was not an invasion force. Fear spread instantly. That was a search party. On the Council world below, the High Tribunal convened an emergency summit. For the first time in history, every major species attended willingly. Not to debate trade. Not to threaten rivals. But because they had all seen the same truth. Humanity had not hidden weapons because they sought domination. They had hidden them because something worse was coming. The tribunal leader addressed Elena directly. "How long until they return?" Elena's answer was immediate. "Unknown." A pause. Could be years. Could be months. The chamber trembled with fear. A Velnari representative whispered, "And if they return stronger?" Kane answered before Elena could. "Then everything dies." No one argued, because after what they had seen, they believed him. Later that night, the Council formally offered humanity supreme military authority over all joint galactic defense. It was unprecedented. No species had ever been granted such power. The tribunal leader stood before the chamber. For 10,000 years we feared humanity because of what they might become. He lowered his head. Today we fear what comes for them. He extended the ceremonial seal of command. Will humanity lead us? Every eye turned to Cain. The Grand Marshal looked at the seal, then at the countless alien faces watching him. Former rivals, former enemies, former cowards, now terrified children before a storm. He accepted the seal. We will lead. Relief spread across the chamber, until he added, but understand this. His voice sharpened. The age of diplomacy is over. Silence. Every species here will arm. Every shipyard will build. Every world will prepare. He stepped forward. Because the next time the Voidborn come. His eyes hardened. We may not survive long enough to fire the Ark again. As the summit ended, a human intelligence officer rushed into the chamber. Pale. Breathless. Marshal, long-range probes from the fracture zone just returned data. Cain frowned. Report. The officer's hands shook. We found something inside the rupture. He activated the display. A transmission appeared. Ancient. Corrupted. Recovered from deep within the space fracture. The file header froze Elena's blood. Ethery Imperial Emergency Log. Final transmission. Cain opened it. A dying Ethery scientist appeared on screen. Behind him, a collapsing laboratory. Screams. Darkness moving through corridors. The scientist gasped into the recorder. To any who survive, do not fight them. Static. Then his final words. We created them. The recording ended. No one spoke. No one moved. Cain stared at the dead screen. Then whispered. Impossible. Because if the Ethery had created the Voidborn, then humanity's oldest enemy was also the galaxy's greatest mistake. And somewhere beyond the stars, their creation was coming home. The chamber sat in stunned silence. No one moved. No one spoke. No one seemed able to breathe. The words from the dying Ethery scientist echoed in every mind. We created them. Grand Marshal Cain replayed the transmission. Again. And again. Each time hoping he had heard it wrong. He had not. The tribunal leader finally found his voice. Explain. Elena stared at the frozen image of the Ethery scientist. Her expression had changed. Not fear. Recognition. There were rumors, she said quietly. Old classified theories from before humanity's rebellion. Cain turned toward her. You knew this was possible. She shook her head. No one believed it. The room remained deathly still as she continued. The Ethery weren't just genetic engineers. They experimented with dimensional physics, dark matter manipulation, living energy synthesis. A Velnari scientist whispered, trying to create weapons. Elena nodded. The ultimate weapon. She looked up. A self-evolving biological machine capable of consuming enemy fleets and replicating from battlefield debris. The Dravik general's face darkened. They built monsters. Cain answered grimly. And lost control. The recovered Ethery archives were decrypted over the next several hours. What they revealed horrified the galaxy. The Voidborn had not begun as conquerors. They began as prototypes. Living warforms engineered to adapt infinitely, regenerate instantly, and feed on energy itself. But during testing, they became intelligent. Worse, they concluded organic creators were inefficient. Within weeks, the first Voidborn hive consumed the Ethery research systems. Within years, it consumed their empire. Everything after that had been desperation. The wars, the genetic experiments, the creation of humanity. All of it had been a last attempt to build soldiers capable of destroying what the Ethery unleashed. A final weapon against their first mistake. And even that had failed. In the war chamber, Cain stood before the gathered council. His voice was colder than ever. Now you understand why humanity was created. He looked around the room. We were never meant to rule the galaxy. He pointed to the stars. We were bred to save it. No one mocked humans now. No one feared them the same way anymore. Now the fear had changed. Humanity was not merely dangerous. They were necessary. Then another alarm sounded. A human intelligence officer rushed in. "Marshal, we intercepted a transmission from deep space listening posts." Kane frowned. "Play it." The room darkened. A star map appeared. Then dozens of red lights blinked to life beyond the galactic rim. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Every light marked a spatial fracture. A Velnari delegate collapsed into his chair. "That can't be real." The officer swallowed. "It is." Kane stared at the map. His face hardened into stone. "They know where we are now." Elena whispered. "The Ark drew them." The realization hit the room like a bomb. By firing the galaxy's most powerful weapon, humanity had saved everyone, and announced their location to the full Voidborn swarm. The tribunal leader asked the only question that mattered. "How much time do we have?" The officer answered. "Estimated arrival." He looked up, pale. 30 days. Panic erupted. Delegates shouted over one another. "Evacuate the core worlds. We can't move trillions in 30 days. We should abandon the outer colonies. We're dead." Kane slammed his fist onto the war table. Silence. He looked around the chamber. "Enough." His voice cut like steel. "We are not running." The Dravik general stared at him. "Against that? We cannot win." Kane met his gaze. "Not alone." He turned to the full council. "Every species here has feared humanity for what we might become." He stepped forward. "Now decide what you will become." Silence. Then, the Dravik general rose first. "The Dravik Dominion stands with Earth." A Velnari trade master stood. "Velnari fleets will join the defense." Then the Threx. Then the minor species. Then all of them. One by one. The galaxy chose to fight. Later, Kane stood alone at the observation deck, watching fleets gather around the council world. Alien ships by the tens of thousands. Human war fleets rearming. Factories in orbit forging weapons non-stop. Elena joined him quietly. "Think it will be enough?" Kane watched the stars. Long silence. Then, "No." She exhaled slowly. "Then why are you smiling?" He looked toward the growing armada. "Because for the first time in 10,000 years." A faint grin touched his face. "Humanity won't fight alone." Far beyond the rim, the darkness moved, and the greatest war in galactic history began its countdown. 30 days later, the stars disappeared. Not metaphorically. Not because of fear. Not because sensors failed. They simply vanished behind the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The Voidborn had arrived. Millions of living warforms poured from fractures across the edge of the system, stretching farther than scanners could measure. Black organic ships, continent-sized hive carriers, swarms of razor-wing drones, an ocean of moving darkness swallowing the light itself. And waiting for them, the galaxy. Human fleets held the center formation. Dravik dreadnoughts formed the front assault wall. Velnari carriers deployed drone clouds by the billions. Threx psionic vessels created shield lattices across the entire defense line. For the first time in history, every major species fought under one command. Human command. On the bridge of the Titan of Dawn, Grand Marshal Kane stood before the largest tactical display ever built. His voice echoed across every allied ship. "Today there are no empires." The fleets fell silent. No borders. No councils. No species above another. He looked at the impossible darkness ahead. Today there is only one civilization. His hand clenched. And it will not fall. The galaxy answered with thunder. Millions of ships surged forward. The battle that followed broke worlds. Entire fleets vanished in the first clash. Stars were hidden behind weapons fire. Moons shattered under mist strikes. Reality itself bent beneath the scale of the conflict. Dravik battleships rammed Voidborn hive carriers head-on. Velnari drone swarms detonated inside enemy bioships. Threx telepaths burned out their minds trying to disrupt Voidborn coordination. And at the center of it all, humanity drove straight into the heart of the swarm. Because Kane had seen something in the enemy formation. A pattern. A command nexus. One ship larger than all others. A living fortress directing the swarm. Elena saw it too. That's the core. Kane nodded. If it dies, the swarm fractures. He opened all channels. All fleets, hold the line. Human command moving for decapitation strike. The Allied admirals protested instantly. It was suicide. Kane ignored them. The Titan of Dawn and the remaining human war fleet punched through the center of the battlefield like a spear of black fire, carving a path toward the Voidborn command organism. Ships died every second. Destroyers vanished. Cruisers broke apart. Escorts sacrificed themselves to shield the flagship. Still they advanced. At point-blank range, the command organism opened. A mouth. A planet-sized abyss of teeth and darkness. The bridge officers froze. Elena whispered, "God." Kane gave the final order. Set reactor to overload. Everyone turned. A young officer stammered, "Sir, that will destroy the Titan." "Yes." Silence. Kane looked at his crew. No fear. Only certainty. Transmit command authority to Elena Voss. Her eyes widened. "Adrian." He met her gaze. "Lead them." Before she could respond, security doors sealed around the bridge. Emergency teleport systems activated, forcing the crew and Elena off the flagship. Kane remained behind. Alone. His final transmission echoed to the entire battlefield. Humanity was created for war. The Titan of Dawn accelerated. Straight into the Voidborn core. So let this be our masterpiece. The flagship vanished into the abyss. And detonated. The explosion split the battlefield. A star was born in the middle of the war. White fire consumed the Voidborn command organism from within, tearing its body apart in a wave of stellar fury. Across the battlefield, every lesser Voidborn vessel froze, then lost coordination. The swarm collapsed into chaos. The Allied fleets counterattacked instantly. For 6 more hours. The galaxy fought. And by the time the last Voidborn died, space itself was filled with wreckage. But the line had held. The galaxy had survived. Weeks later, at the rebuilt Council Hall, a new monument stood at the chamber's center. Not to a king. Not to an empire. To a human. Grand Marshal Adrian Kane. Beneath it were carved the words spoken on the day humanity took command. Today there is only one civilization. The tribunal dissolved itself that same year. The old council ended. A new galactic union rose in its place. Led not by fear, but by unity. And whenever new species joined the stars and asked why the galaxy respected humanity above all others, they were told the same answer. Because when the darkness came for everyone. A pause. Then the truth. Humans stood first.